In the late 1940s, during the early years of the Cold War, a group of Soviet researchers allegedly conducted a classified experiment inside a remote military facility in Siberia. 5 political prisoners were selected. They were told that if they stayed awake for 30 days straight, they would be released. In exchange, they would be confined inside a sealed chamber and exposed to an experimental stimulant gas designed to eliminate the need for sleep. They agreed. The chamber was large, about the size of a small apartment. It had metal walls, thick reinforced glass observation windows, and microphones installed inside. There were cots, running water, a toilet, dried food rations, and stacks of books. No clocks, no mirrors. The gas was delivered through concealed vents. The researchers monitored them from another room. For the first 5 days, everything went smoothly. The prisoners talked about politics, childhood memories, and their hatred for the Soviet government. They laughed. They read books aloud. Their voices sounded tired, but stable. On day 6, the conversations began to shift. They grew paranoid. One prisoner started whispering to himself in the corner of the chamber. Another began accusing the others of being informants. They avoided eye contact. Their tone became sharp and distrustful. By day 9, the whispering had turned into screaming. One of the prisoners ran back and forth across the chamber for hours, tearing at his throat as he screamed. The microphones picked up raw, animalistic sounds until his vocal cords finally gave out. He continued screaming silently. The others stopped talking to each other entirely. Instead, they approached the observation glass one by one and began whispering into the microphones. They weren't begging to be released. They were giving information. Allegedly, each one started betraying the others, offering details in exchange for something the researchers couldn't hear clearly through the static. On day 12, the screaming prisoner collapsed. The others dragged him away from the center of the room. That's when the researchers noticed something strange. The microphones had gone almost completely silent. For 2 full days, there was no sound from inside the chamber. The oxygen consumption levels, however, indicated that all 5 men were still alive. In fact, they were consuming oxygen at a rate consistent with extreme physical exertion. On day 15, fearing the worst, the researchers decided to shut off the stimulant gas and open the chamber. Over the intercom, they announced, "We are opening the chamber to test the microphones. Step away from the door and lie flat on the floor." There was a long pause. Then a voice responded, calm, hoarse, almost amused. "We no longer want to be freed." When the chamber was opened, the smell hit first: rotting flesh, blood, human waste. One of the prisoners was dead. His body had been torn apart. Chunks of flesh were missing from his thighs and chest. The other 4 were still alive, barely. Large portions of their own skin had been ripped off. Muscle and bone were visible. One man's abdomen was open, yet he was still breathing, still aware, staring directly at the soldiers. There were pieces of flesh stuffed into the drain, clogging it. Blood coated the floor, but the most disturbing part wasn't the injuries. It was their expressions. Wide eyes. Alert, aware. They didn't look exhausted. They looked awake. When soldiers tried to remove them from the chamber, the prisoners resisted violently. One soldier reportedly had his throat torn out. Another was disemboweled. Despite massive blood loss, the prisoners fought with inhuman strength. One of them screamed as he was restrained, "I will not be deprived of the gas." Even as sedatives were injected, they kept thrashing. One prisoner's heart continued beating after he'd lost so much blood that a doctor later said it was medically impossible. When one finally managed to speak clearly, he was asked, "What are you?" The prisoner smiled. "We are you. We are the madness that lurks within all of you. We are what you hide from in your beds every night. We are what you sedate into silence when you go to sleep." He laughed, a broken, wet sound. "We are you when you cannot sleep." According to the story, 3 of the prisoners died shortly after removal. The final subject was placed back inside the chamber, alone. The researchers wanted answers. Before sealing the door, A scientist leaned in close and asked, "What are you?" The prisoner, barely able to move, whispered, That which sleeps inside you, waiting." The chamber was sealed again. The gas was turned back on. The experiment was allegedly terminated shortly after. No official records exist. No documents confirm it, but the story spread online, passed between forums, late-night threads, and horror communities. And if you've ever stayed awake too long, if you've ever felt your thoughts becoming unfamiliar, if you've ever stared at the ceiling at 3 a.m. and felt something staring back from inside your own mind, maybe the story lingers for a reason.